Hello, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's talk entitled Thrive, Not Just Survive, Tools and Tips to Face Challenges That Come Our Way. My name is Lexi Schultz, and I'll be your host this afternoon. Now, before we begin today's conversation, let's hear from the creator of In the Pink, who organized today's event, Michael Celdran.
Thank you, Tita Lexi. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I am Michael Saljan. My mother is a breast cancer survivor. She was diagnosed 6 years before I was born. It was impossible not to know about breast cancer even at an early age. There were survivors always meeting at her house. I once modeled a shirt with the words, "Tough kids wear pink" for I Can Surf's campaign. My usual job back soccer laces would be replaced by pink ones in October because my teammates and I laced up for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We had football tournaments, went to food fairs, and there were many, many breast cancer awareness events that we attended as a family. I learned firsthand, as I'm sure it is the same for many of you, that when a parent or anyone is diagnosed with cancer, it doesn't just affect the patient. We are all touched by cancer. Everyone is affected by it, whether cancer comes into our homes, before we are born, when we are babies, when we are young, or when we are old enough to fully understand what it all means. I knew that I was somewhat lucky. I could easily type, "My mom has breast cancer," and a slew of information, some scary, some comforting, would pop up onto my computer screen. Not everyone has access at their fingertips. Even worse, during the pandemic, with the clinics closed and people afraid to step out of their homes, I realized it was even more complicated, difficult, and scary for many. I'm currently a junior at International School Manila. Sometime in early high school, I took a special interest in computer science. In 2020, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic here in the Philippines, where kids like us weren't allowed to leave our homes or go to school, I took extra classes on some evenings to learn how to code. I watched my mom and other breast cancer survivors, my Tita's I Can Surf Foundation, create printed resource kits and charms made by hand to send to women's homes because they were unable to hold awareness and early detection activities in person. I knew then I wanted to create an app that was free for both children and adults, easy to navigate, and would have the information anyone could have access to. And that is how In the Pink came to be. So what is In the Pink? In the Pink is a free mobile application available to all Android users that can be downloaded via the Google Play Store. For those who do not have Android phones, it is also a responsive website, inthepinkph.com, accessible to anyone with any gadget, any smartphone, any iPad, a laptop, and even a desktop. I will add the site's link in chat later. So what is In the Pink? What is In the Pink? It contains a resource guide on all things breast cancer. In partnership with the I Can Surf Foundation, it is a digital kit with pertinent information such as what is breast cancer, who is at risk, what are the myths and truths, what are the signs, what is a self-breast exam, and how should one perform it, what are the early detection guidelines for women of different ages. And all this information is available in English, Tagalog, and Cebuano. If one isn't entirely sure on how to properly conduct a breast self-exam, there's an animated video produced by I Can Surf and Novartis that can guide and walk you through it, every step of the way. You will also find a directory of healthcare facilities and hospitals one can visit in Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao, together with an itemized list and services and a price breakdown of these services. For those who are diagnosed, there's a list of support and patient groups they can reach out to. Special thank you to all the groups that agreed to be a part of In the Pink. We hope to continue to expand these lists in the next couple of weeks and months. There's also a monthly alarm on the app to remind the users when it's time to perform the next breast self-exam. No more excuses about forgetfulness. However, my work isn't done as I plan on expanding and developing In the Pink. So what is in store for In the Pink? Soon, I wish to add Within the Pink, a resource corner for children of breast cancer survivors, recommended books, readings, and links to videos for all ages that can help them. Also, articles and testimonials written by other children touched by cancer. Breast cancer isn't easy for anyone, but we can try our best to make it a little bit easier for others. Lastly, I'm so happy Tita Leah agreed to help with today's session. The pandemic was particularly hard on me. Because of that, and to help reduce stress, I learned to incorporate meditation into my daily life. I know I'm not alone. I hope you can each learn something today that can help you. Thank you again for being here and for spending this afternoon with us. Thank you, I Can Serve, for all the support. Thank you, Tita Lexi, for readily and wholeheartedly agreeing to be a part of this afternoon. Thank you, Tita Leah, for selflessly agreeing to do this and for saying yes immediately. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mick. What an awesome initiative you started. You can breathe a little bit. You practice your meditation now. You can breathe. You're done. But really, I mean, I'm so very proud of you. 16 years old. I don't remember what I was doing at 16 years old. So this is so beneficial and helpful to so many people in the Philippines. You're doing a wonderful job. Congratulations to you. Before I introduce you to our speaker this afternoon, I'd like to tell everybody to please feel free to post any questions you may have on the chat box throughout the talk, because we will try to get to all of them. There will be a short Q&A after this amazing talk. So now I'm going to introduce you to this very inspirational speaker. Today's speaker, her name is Leah Delgado Infante. She is a registered psychologist who works with children and adolescents at the International School Manila and for the In Touch Community Service. She is a mother of 3 and a breast cancer survivor. Leah, take it away. So good to see you, my friend, and you're looking so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mick, for having me. This talk will be a little different from my usual talks because I'm wearing 2 hats as I give the talk today, both as a psychologist and a breast cancer survivor. So I hope I am able to impart even just some tidbits of wisdom that you can use in your life. Abby, share. Okay. So Mick and I came up with the title of this talk together, Thrive, Not Just Survive. So initially, the talk was written for breast cancer survivors, and we made the audience broader because you know, there's a difference between surviving and thriving, and those words apply to everybody. You know, we can go through life just surviving, or we can flourish. Let's move on. Okay, so we just want to remind everyone to consider this a safe space. We encourage you to be open, ask questions, grab the opportunity to share. You can raise your hand if there is something you want to say. Don't forget to turn your microphones off. And then if you get cut, just join the Zoom link again. There's going to be some interactive slides. We're using slido.com. So you can go to slido.com and just enter the code 262051, or you can scan the QR code on the left. Okay, so I work part-time at ISM, International School Manila, where Mikael goes to school. But I also work part-time at In Touch, which is a leading provider of mental health services in the Philippines. We have counseling. We also do training for other psychologists, and we have something called Crisis Line. So if you're ever in need of someone to talk to in the moment and you can't get, you know, a therapy session, you need something immediate, you can call Crisis Line. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about surviving versus thriving. What does it mean? We will then take stock of what attributes we all already have that make us more likely to be resilient and thrive. And then I guess the most important part is I will hopefully be giving you tips and ideas for what you can add to your resilience toolbox. Okay, So I want to start my talk today with this quote by Maya Angelou. She said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." So why would we want to be thrivers? What do thrivers do that survivors don't? Next slide. Okay. So thrivers, we'll look at some statements that someone surviving versus someone thriving might say. And then let's talk about what themes we see, no? So someone surviving would say something like, "I'll just wait for something good to happen," versus "I'll find something interesting to do." They would say, "I can't do it," versus "This is new to me, but I'll give it a try." Why bother planning for the future versus "I'm excited to see what will happen." That homework doesn't make sense, but I have to do it anyway, versus a thriver who would say, "Maybe there's something useful I can pick up here." Life is so boring versus "I will find things that are interesting to me. I'll keep working on my dreams." And relating to cancer, someone surviving will be hold on very tightly to fear. So what if my cancer comes back, versus "I have done all I can to cure and prevent my cancer, and I'll continue taking care of myself so that it doesn't come back." So what themes do you see? If you look at these statements, we see that survivors see challenges as threats or obstacles. They see the limitations. Survivors tend to cling onto outcomes they feel they have to achieve. They tend to have kind of defeatist or negative attitudes, and tend to think of why something can't be instead of why it can be achieved. They tend to worry about the future and ruminate about the past. Thrivers, on the other hand, they approach circumstances more differently. They don't see them as threats, but as opportunities to grow. They are able to trust in the flow of life rather than always needing to control it. So they hold things lightly, and they look for why things can happen rather than why they can't. And one thing that allows them to do that is that they're able to focus on what is happening in the present instead of worrying about the past or the future. So I just want to make something clear before we move on, that these categories are not fixed. It's like a continuum, and we can also be thriving one day and the next day be more fearful or anxious. So it's something that we will constantly be working on and striving towards, as opposed to just like being in a fixed category. So hopefully in today's talk, you'll pick up some things, but I think the fact that you're all attending is already a sign to me that you are on your way to becoming a thriver. Okay, so a thriver's mindset allows us to be resilient, and resiliency is the ability to bounce back and grow after misfortune or change. It's the core strength you use to lift the load of life, and the ability to bend and not break.
Very important message in terms of how we do IPC so that we can catch them early.
So no one is spared. In life, we will have challenges along the way. Some will be seemingly small, some will be huge, and but even the smallest of challenges requires sort of a thriver's mindset if we're going to grow from it, or if we're going to allow circumstances to make us better. Okay, so what are some common challenges that you guys in high school face? So just from my interaction with my clients, and also from my own children and friends' children, I know that common challenges are fear of failure, with regard to tests, auditions, interviews. We know that in high school, you have tougher academics and more responsibilities. On top of that, you have social pressures, the pressure to fit in, to be popular, have lots of friends. And I know that social media kind of exacerbates all of these stressors because it forces us to compare ourselves with other people. We're also in high school making choices that affect the future, deciding what subjects to take in IB, what colleges to apply to, what course to declare. Next year, you guys are gonna have college applications if you're a senior. And then on top of that, like what happens if, a parent gets sick? And or a sibling gets sick. So having fears of dealing with the changes that come with someone getting sick or fears of possible recurrence are challenges that kids of survivors face. Now, the last thing is not like an external situation, but something internal. Many times people are bothered by what we call ants. And by ants, I don't mean the pesky six-legged creatures. I mean automatic negative thoughts. These are thoughts that pop into our minds uninvited. They make us feel angry, sad, worried, or upset. And they also affect our behavior. The thing is, most of them are not even true. So I will go through some of the ants now, but we'll talk about how to deal with them later. So I'll just go through a couple. These are the most common ants. So the fortune teller ant makes you see the future and worry about the future. And usually the fortune teller ant makes you predict a negative outcome in the future. So it's not impossible for mom to have a recurrence. It might keep coming back despite treatment. The all or nothing ant is, I promised myself that I would exercise every day. It had been going really well for 2 weeks, but I skipped a day. I'm so lazy, I should just give up. So just because you missed a day, someone with the all or nothing ant would just give up. Another one, I won't go through all. So the mind reader ant. So my friend scene zone me, she must hate me. So it's reading the person's intention, even if you don't know the facts. Okay, so before we talk about what we can learn to become thrivers or to develop a thriving mindset, I'd like you guys to take stock of the resources you already have. So what beliefs or values do you have, character traits, behaviors, and actions? Mick, you mentioned that over the pandemic, you developed meditation practice. So that's already a resource you have to become a thriver. What resources do you have? So I'd like you guys to go on to slido.com or scan this QR code and you will type in what resources you have that have helped you overcome challenges, and we'll see your answers come up on the slide. It's pretty cool. So some people have written friends, family, meditation, economic resources, self-compassion, perspective, the Bible, breathing techniques, yoga, poetry. Family, I think, is the biggest because it's probably been written the most. Sports, exercise, hearing daily mass, time in nature. Wow, you guys already have so much in your toolbox. Okay, so today I'd like to teach you a couple of more things that you can add. And there are three areas that I'll talk about. One is health, the other is composure, and then the last is collaboration. So these are the three things that really help us build resilience and help us to thrive. Okay, I used a picture of myself. Health is the foundation of resilience, and I can't tell you enough how important exercise is to being healthy. All throughout chemo, I found the energy to continue working out even lightly. I had read that exercising improves the efficacy of chemo. And fortunately, I was able to exercise throughout chemo. Okay, so what are some other things that contribute to health? Sleep and diet. So this is called the healthy trinity. And I know high schoolers sometimes find it difficult to get the adequate number of hours of sleep, but I encourage you to make it a priority. So if it means giving up some social media time or TV time to get more sleep, I would make that a priority. Eating healthy, it's so tempting to have sweets and fried foods, but we know that all these things affect our moods and just overall energy levels. So focusing on diet is also important. And as I said earlier, exercise can be helpful both to our physical health and our emotional health. And I add here regular checkups because for survivors, for anyone over 40, regular checkups are important, and then they're particularly important for survivors. So, instead of giving into the worry, what if my cancer comes back, we can just stay on top of things by being good about getting our checkups regularly. Okay, so that's health. The other thing is composure, and composure is really feeling calm and in control. I put three things here. So the first picture is meditation, and today I will be sharing a video, or more like a sound file, about breathing, square breathing. The other picture that I included was praying hands. I think that sometimes when we feel very much out of control, praying and putting our struggles at the feet of God helps us feel less anxious about what we're going through. And the third picture was me doing yoga, which is a combination of sort of physical exercise, but also meditation through the body. And that was also extremely helpful to me throughout my treatment. So let's go and move on to box breathing, which is a square breathing, which is one of the easiest breathing exercises. You guys can turn off your cameras so that you can sit comfortably, close your eyes, and just listen to the voice. There is going to be a video that will also that you can watch for a while. And then what I like to do when I do square breathing is just imagine a box in my head. So let's start.
To practice square breathing, settle comfortably in a chair. Place both feet on the ground and your hands on your abdomen to feel the movement of your breath. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Close your eyes if you're comfortable to do so, and follow my voice. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. To practice square.
Oops. So can we go back just to that picture? Yeah. So breathing helps because it sort of calms the nervous system. Many times when we are sort of triggered, the part of our brain that deals with stressful situations, the reptilian part of our brain or the primitive part of our brain hijacks the whole brain and takes over, and it's called like flipping your lid. So the part of the brain that is more the thinking part is overcome by the emotional part. And just taking a moment to breathe deeply, and it doesn't even have to be very long, can really reset the nervous system and help us regain composure. Okay, next slide. So remember I talked about earlier those pesky ants that sometimes affects our thinking. And why is it so important to bust these ants? And that's because of the cognitive triangle, where our thoughts affect our feelings and our feelings affect our behavior, and our behavior affects our thoughts and vice versa. So just think about it. If you think she's seen zone me, she must hate me, how would you feel about yourself? You would feel hurt, you would feel, or you might feel angry, and then you would feel extremely anxious and worried about what you might have done to upset your friend. So learning to then take a step back and identifying that the mind reader ant is in your brain and questioning that thought can really help you regain composure as well. Okay. The example of the fortune teller ant, it's not impossible for mom to have a recurrence, even if she's already in remission. Again, that's fortune telling. And it would be helpful to take a step back and question those thoughts. So I will show you in the next slide just how to do that. Very simple questions. So these are some what we call ant busting questions, questions that you can ask yourself that can help you question these automatic negative thoughts. So one is that thought true? Are you 100% sure it's true? Another question is, if my friend had this same thought, what would I tell them? So sometimes when our friends come to us with these anxious thoughts, we are able to have like give an objective assessment of the situation. But then when it comes to ourselves, we always think of the worst explanation for a situation. So it's good to then step back and ask yourself, if my friend had the same thought, what would I tell them? Okay. Another question is, what is the worst that could really happen? And if the worst did happen, what could I do to deal with it? And who could help me? So asking yourself or facing the possibility that something bad could happen, but that you recognizing that you would have the resources to deal with it. Okay. Another question you could ask is, what is a more helpful thought? So going back to the example of a friend not responding to your message, you could remind yourself that, ooh, we have finals next week. She's probably busy studying and hasn't seen my text. Or she might have read it while she was in the middle of something and couldn't answer at that moment, and she forgot. So I said that sometimes our thoughts affect our feelings and then affect our behavior, right? So let's say you assumed your friend was mad at you, and you felt angry, then you might be distant from her instead of just sort of saying, hey, I wrote to you, you didn't see my message, and just being very calm and composed about it. So take note of these ant-busting questions. I assure you they come in handy. Okay. Next. So the third thing is collaboration. And collaboration means thriving with others. And some of you wrote that in when we took stock of what makes us resilient, and people wrote down family and friends. And so definitely one of the things that helped me throughout my journey was my family and my friends and my dogs. So if you look at the picture on top, Mick's mom is in it, and a bunch of other survivors. And just having that community of people who were going through or had gone through something similar was just so comforting. And yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. The other picture is of me and my mom. I did part of my treatment here in the Philippines and part in the US, and I had a real gift of having my mom with me for 2.5 months straight. And you think about it, what 43-year-old person can say they spent 2 months with their mom as the only child? So it was very special. So collaborating, feeling that you can reach out to people, and I found it very helpful to be open about what I was going through. And somehow, like, every person I talked to gave me a tip or gave me encouragement, was just extremely supportive, and the collaboration with friends and family helped me get through and helped me thrive. I said thriving in the beginning. I said thriving is also being able to see the silver linings, and really savoring the positive moments in your life, no matter what's going on. Because I think life inevitably involves a lot of hardship, and that doesn't go away. So, but if we are able to see the positive throughout, then we will sort of thrive and grow and flourish. So moving on. Okay, so the next few slides are sort of a summary of different self-care activities, and I encourage you to take note of ones that you would like to try. Many times when life is busy, some of these self-care activities go out the window when actually they're the times that we need them the most. And I'm guilty of that. So first, as we said, health, getting enough sleep, going for walks, taking a break, eating healthy and well, and exercising. Okay. Collaboration, talking to people we trust, having fun with friends. So yeah, during the pandemic, I think people who reached out to friends and found time to Zoom with friends ended up doing better than those who stayed isolated. Practicing positive self-talk, treating yourself like you would treat a friend. Joining an online support group or face-to-face support group, now that it's possible. And I added here playing with your pet. Playing with pets really adds to the happiness hormone of oxytocin. And I think that it really adds to our well-being. Some more self-care activities: reading a book, doing something creative, trying journaling. So being able to write about what we're feeling and thinking about things has also been proven to be very good at helping with mental health. Listening to music, sprucing up our space, and just keeping our spaces tidy are also all self-care activities that can help. Okay, so when to ask for help. So sometimes we can't do things on our own and we need to reach out. So how do we know that we need to? These are just some red flags to watch out for. So if you're feeling sad or withdrawn for long periods of time, by long, I mean, you would get a diagnosis of depression if you were feeling sad for 2 weeks or longer. Out of control behavior that causes harm to yourself or others. Suddenly feeling overwhelmed with fear for no reason. Sometimes experiencing a racing heart or difficulty breathing. Losing weight or gaining a significant amount of weight. Seeing or hearing things that no one else does. Drastic changes in mood, behavior, or sleep patterns. Extreme difficulty concentrating or staying still. Intense worries or fears that get in the way of your daily activities. And also losing interest in your daily activities. So if things that used to be fun or that you enjoyed become things you shy away from, you feel like you don't have the energy to do things you used to enjoy, these might be signs that it would help you to seek help. Okay, and who can help? So you can talk to a trusted adult, the school counselors, the school psychologist, teachers, parents or guardians, a close relative, and a close friend. Okay. I've also included here, how can you help? Because sometimes our friends come to us and or if we notice that a friend needs help, what could we do? So we could approach them and ask how they're doing and listen without judgment, even if it's uncomfortable. We can affirm their strengths. So I can see when you say listen without judgment, listen and try not say things like, oh, don't worry, it's not a big deal, or it will pass, but actually trying to really listen and say and validate, I can see why you're feeling that way. And then affirming strengths. I admire your courage through this tough time. If you don't fully understand, be ready to listen and to help. Ask who, what, or how, but not why questions. Also, don't minimize emotions or make it a joke. So show them that their way of experience things matters. Also, we can help by encouraging them to talk to a trusted adult if you feel like you can't help that much anymore, and reminding them that asking for help is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Encouraging them to expand their support network and giving them resources to cope better with stress could also be helpful. So here are the numbers of In Touch and their website. On the left, you have the numbers of Crisis Line. Okay, I think, Abby, they were still copying. Can we go back? Yeah, okay. So next slide. Okay. I just want to recap everything and ask you guys to take note on just privately on your own. What strengths, skills, and resources do you have that will help you thrive? So I am, I have, and I can. Just something you can write on your own and well, you can share if you want, but you can also just write it on a sheet for yourself and put it as a reminder. So people have written, I'm loved. Oh, nice. I'm strong. I'm good. I'm confident. I listen without judgment. I have friends. I can pray. I'm talented. I have listening skills. I listen without judgment. I have a powerful voice. Okay. So now we'll move on to the question and answer portion. Okay, the first question. I think I need help sometimes, but I don't want to be a burden to others. How do I go about this? What resources do you personally use in order to reduce stress? Okay, so I'll go with the first. I guess you could consult a psychologist because it's their job to help people who need help in this emotional help and support. You can also think about the people who you know love you the most, and I'd like you to challenge that thought that you would be a burden. I think sometimes when we find the strength to open up to people, we give them actually an opportunity to show us that they love us and they appreciate us for it. What resources do you personally use in order to reduce stress? So I do try to exercise regularly, either on my own or I like to go for walks, which I find extremely relaxing. When I'm feeling very anxious, prayer really helps. And deep breathing. So I didn't just add that because, you know, it's known to help. I actually do try to use it. And when my chest is really tight or my stomach feels like it's turning for whatever reason, deep breathing does help. If I'm feeling down, am I in a position to help others who ask me for help? I think you can be somehow. I guess you can answer that. Like if you feel like your feeling down is affecting the way you see everything, and you think you might be negative, when have a very negative lens when your friend comes to you, then maybe I would just try and be aware of how you are responding to the people who ask you for help. If you're feeling down, though, I encourage you to speak to your school counselor or reach out to someone at In Touch or to a good friend. It can sometimes be difficult for me to identify what is causing my stress and anxiety. Is this normal, and how can I go about this? I think it is normal that sometimes we can feel it in our bodies, the stress or anxiety, and not know what's causing it. How would you go about it? I would try and investigate, kind of like a private, like a investigator would, and look at the events that led to it, like what happened right before that feeling started. And that might give you a clue. Is it necessary to consult a psychologist or expert in mental health? I think if you feel like you're not just temporarily sad, like as those red flags, like if you've been sad for 2 months or longer and you've tried to help yourself and things are not getting better, I don't see why, like, I think it would be helpful to consult a psychologist, but a first step would also just be, and it's easy because they're in school, is going to your school guidance counselor. I know that the ones in ISM are excellent. Even the ones in Ateneo, Ariana, I know that the guidance office there is excellent. So yeah, just going to the counselors in school would be a big help, and then they can help you decide whether you need a psychologist or a mental health expert. Is sleeping too much a problem? Not by, I guess by too much, I mean like people who can't get out of bed, who struggle to get out of bed. But I don't know what you mean by too much. If you're going to school, it's unlikely that you are sleeping too much. And maybe if you're sleeping a lot on weekends, you're probably making up for lack of sleep during the week. How can I recognize signs of mental health struggles in my friends if they don't honestly open up? You might be able to see it in their behavior, or so people who are struggling with mental health tend to be irritable. You might see it in their facial expressions or body language. If someone's feeling depressed or sad, you sometimes can see it in the way they carry themselves. Sometimes when I'm down or stressed, I just want to wallow it in for a day or so, and it does, and somehow gets me out of the rut. Do you think this is healthy? I think it is. Sometimes we just have to go through it and not try and fight it. Like, let's say something happened that makes us feel stressed or makes us feel sad. Sometimes fighting it or pushing it down and saying, oh, I'm fine, when actually you're not, could just make it grow. So sort of wallowing it in it for a day and acknowledging it and accepting it, accepting that you are reacting to a certain situation this way is, I think, could be healthy. It might help you to journal about it, just to give you more insight into why you're feeling a certain way. Does that answer your question? If it doesn't, can you let me know. Any other questions?
Actually, Leah, I love the fact that, because I've hosted quite a number of events on Zoom, and a lot of people are very shy to ask questions. And I think that there were a lot of good questions today. What do you think?
I think so too. And I
Yeah.
hope I answered them adequately.
And
There
I
were
love
so
that,
many.
yeah, this next generation sort of, I think they're in touch with their feelings, and a lot of the issues seem to also stem from, well, we all know about self-love, how difficult it is, right? So I think it's also about checking with yourself. And you have a lot of these. Your talk was so beautiful, with such a wellspring of information to help yourself, and not just about the patients, but very much about the families as well. The family members that you don't realize are also very much affected by by the situation. As Mick said, cancer affects the whole family. It's not just the patient.
Right. Thank you.
Absolutely. So with that, thank you so much, Leah. I mean, at this point, I'd like everybody to turn on their videos, because we're going to take a small photograph of everyone attending. And I kind of want you to also use your emojis to sort of congratulate this 16-year-old boy who's doing so much for society. You can do this, yes, for the titos and titas of Manila, but if you know where your emojis are, you can do that too. And then we also thank you so much, Leah, for that beautiful talk. And we're also glad that you're on the mend, and helping other people get through their situations as well. All right, with that, I think this
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your questions.
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you so much, Leah, and of course the In Touch community. Thank you so much to I Can Serve and all of the good work that you do. And again, Mikael, Mick, congratulations. I mean, continue the work that you do. And I'm sure that everyone will be able to go into, well, you do have an Instagram account, and I'm sure that you've also inspired a lot of your friends to sort of help you out in this journey of yours. So congratulations once again. And that's it for this afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And we hope to all see you soon, because I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to hear from Mick and his wonderful initiative.